Hey guys, it's yet another rainy, yucky, but still beautiful November day here in Portland, and I am just kind of taking a few moments between clients and thought I would do a little check-in on Ceccoli Oracle and Tarot. So I recently had to replace the Ceccoli Oracle, and I just got the new version, the new copy, I guess I'll say, in the mail. It just came today. I just took the plastic off. That's all I've done. I haven't opened it yet. And I thought I would kind of open the deck and just feel into the deck a little bit while we talked about working with Ceccoli's artwork. So oh my goodness, this is shrink wrap too. Now I'm going to have to try to take this off without my scissors. We'll see how this goes. This is what the box looks like. I've done a review and a reveal, I believe. But there's something very unique about Ceccoli's artwork. And I, for one, happen to dearly love and enjoy her artwork. And so working with her decks is really special for me. But even if you aren't necessarily called to like have some of her prints up in your home or reference her art regularly, there's a real power to her artwork when it comes to doing personal self-work or reading for yourself or others. And I feel her artwork lends itself very well to helping us kind of dig into those places that can get sticky for us at times. This is the guidebook. It's published by Los Scarabeo, so you think you're getting a really great guidebook when you see that, but it's actually in quite a few different languages, and so the amount that you actually get that's in any one language is about 30 pages, and there are 32 cards in the deck. So it's not a wealth of information that you're getting in the guidebook, but it does help you to, or give you a chance to, have some jumping off points if you feel stuck when working with this deck. And in the Oracle deck, she offers a light and a dark interpretation, which I have found helpful for journaling and self-work, etc. So it's not a throwaway guidebook. I do think it's at least worth a read. So we have to take it out of the plastic, guys. So she works in like what I would consider a lowbrow pop genre for her. I'm trying to use a bobby pin to do this, guys. This is going to be hysterical to watch. Here we go. For her kind of genre of art, her focus of her work. And her artwork features, girls and boys in these kind of childlike settings that seem fetishistic or fantastical, and actually there's typically something perhaps sinister or out of place happening in the images, and it pairs well with divination work and self-work because the images themselves really push you to look outside of your judgments. And yeah, so the cardstock is not my most favorite, and I do remember having to break in my other deck, so I'm definitely going to have to do that with this one. That has not changed. So you'll typically have a visceral gut reaction to her images. They may at times feel peaceful, they might feel disarming, they might feel incredibly uncomfortable. And there's a video from a few years ago, I'm not sure if it's still up. If it is, I will post a link below, that Veronica Jude did on working with Ceccoli's artwork. That's much more comprehensive than anything that I can offer, and a great value if you are drawn to work with her decks. And I would encourage you to explore that video and see where it really takes you. But the gut reaction that you get to these images, and as you look at them, you'll start to see this kind of sinister feel to the images. So for instance, I just want to find an example. We have this snail coming close to the girl on the bed. And there's a lot of different places that you could take this image. And this is why the artwork is valuable as a tool for self-work, self-evaluation, shadow work, getting to know what's an unconscious motivator perhaps for you in regards to a situation. All those layers can be explored really impactfully with this deck. And there's a great example of that in card number 11, which reminds me of the Tower in Tarot. This is the Oracle deck again, guys. So the cards themselves can really take you on a journey just in and of themselves, not even looking at them as a divination, aspect, but really instead just looking at them as self-work, shadow work, understanding of the inner child, offering love and acceptance to yourself in any situation. These cards can be a really powerful way to work with that energy. But you have to be willing to put the time in here and explore themes that might make you uncomfortable. So for those who have, and I believe that Veronica Jude talks about this in her video as well, but for those of us who have been victims of childhood sex abuse or sexual abuse of any sort, even as an adult, looking and dealing with the wounded child and the wounded selves within, her artwork is a really, really powerful way to get into those areas which we might block ourselves from exploring and going and stepping into. But no matter where you fall on a spectrum of whether you've dealt with childhood abuse of any sort, or it's come up for you in adulthood and it's something you're trying to heal, if there are shadow aspects that you're trying to reintegrate or understand about yourself, her artwork speaks really, really powerfully to doing that type of work, and it's why I do recommend them. It's why I do recommend her decks to people who are looking to do a lot of shadow work or self-work. They are not light and fluffy. So you're not working with even like a Jasmine Beckett Griffith level here of where you can get into some shadow stuff with her images. These are pretty hardcore, and I found over the years that they really elicit a powerful gut reactive response from clients. And so I have learned to, when I'm working with Ceccoli as a reader and a healer, these decks come out for very specific clients or querents at very specific times there, and I do not use them lightly. I use them with respect, honor, and reverence. You also have to be able to hold yourself accountable in your shadow work when you work with this deck, I would say, or either of these decks, the Oracle or the Tarot deck by Ceccoli, because the images will elicit, for the most part, probably a gut reaction, and so you have to be able to hold yourself responsible and accountable to diving into what that brings up for you, but also being able to come back up out of it. So you want to make sure that you have some type of really healthy grounding routine after you finish working with the deck if you are doing in-depth personal healing work. I'm not saying that you need to do that if you are just doing a reading, but if you're really getting into stuff and journaling and meditating, you want to make sure that you have a healthy grounding routine to come up out of that work, because the images will elicit a lot of feelings and experiences and memories perhaps, or understandings, awarenesses of situations and perhaps cycles or patterns that you tend to repeat based on perhaps traumatic situations from your childhood or various times of your life. That being said, we can also look at this in the light aspect too, because this deck isn't just for shadow work either. So you could choose to be interacting with this deck and having really beautiful childhood memories, or connecting with your inner child in a playful way when you work with this deck. And in that case, you'll want some type of a grounding routine just to help you be back in your body, where you are on your earth path now, coming out of that spiritually focused work in a way that where your body is grounded and safe, and you can go back to normal day-to-day life. So working with this deck does require a level of awareness, accountability, and also, and I'm going to show you images from the tarot deck now as well. It's a building of a relationship with the deck, no different than when I talk about tarot vampires. My relationship with this deck tends to be playful, but not really super playful though. Like I say playful, but it's more doing the more intense, in-depth work that will lead me to pick her up, and either of them up, and pull them out. You spend time with the images. You don't want to rush through even just a reading with this deck. And very much with this deck, you want to focus on the feelings that you get from looking at the images, especially when reading for or with others. And I have found that to be very helpful, not just falling back on my known meanings for typical Rider-Waite-Smith decks, but instead, I love that one, really paying attention to, this is my favorite image in the deck, as many of you know, really paying attention to the gut reaction, gut emotion that you have looking at the image and what that has to say about the current situation. So for instance, let's see, the snow globe in the Judgment card, or I'm sorry, the World, not Judgment, the World. This can elicit a lot of different feelings when you work with this deck. And typically we think of the World as being a positive card, coming full circle. You're at the top of the mountain, you've made the hike up, you're taking that moment to enjoy where you are, you know how far you've come and that you're about to embark on the journey down the mountain, and yet it's that beautiful moment of symmetry and an understanding of the point and purpose of life cycles. In the Ceccoli deck, I have a very different reaction to this image, and it really tends to be more of the girl is trapped inside the snow globe. Like, what the fuck? How does she get out? She's trapped. She's gone to the edge of the town, and she is stuck there, and she can't get out. So when I read with the Ceccoli Tarot and I draw the World, that will inform, as a reader, what I'm looking at in the entire situation, either for myself or for a querent or client. It's not always negative when the World shows up and I'm reading, but it will inform, is there an aspect of something needing to end, a feeling of being trapped, that all the lessons that can be explored in this situation have been explored. It's a real call to examining the movement around a cycle in a slightly different way than I would read if perhaps I was working with the Steampunk Tarot by Barbara Moore. So that's an example of how that gut reaction and that feeling you get from looking at Ceccoli's images impact, as a reader, what you choose to offer to clients or for yourself in understanding why the card is showing up in any given situation. So here's the Seven of Wands. And you know, typically I'm thinking about boundaries with the Seven of Wands and ability to say no, looking at when it's time to perhaps walk away from a situation. And here in the Seven of Wands in the Ceccoli Tarot, I am looking at punishment, judgment, observation, endings. So as a reader, it takes you to a slightly different place, even though you're exploring the same theme. It's like looking at it from a different perspective, or if you're looking at a piece of art, you know, if you're looking at a sculpture or something, walking around it and looking at it from underneath as opposed to straight on. So while Ceccoli's decks are not for the faint of heart or for the light reader, I would say that as the years have gone by, and as you can see, I'm replacing a copy that was damaged because I use the decks that much, they will walk with you in a very purposeful way. And if you devote the time and attention to connecting with your deck, you're going to get a lot out of working with the decks. Of the two, the one that I really can't live without is the Ceccoli Tarot, even though I wish that the cards were the size of the Oracle deck. Now, that being said, I love the Oracle deck too, so I'm not saying I don't love this deck, because I do. I love the Ceccoli Oracle. So either of these are a great option, but if I had to start with one or the other, starting with the Tarot, in my opinion, is the best place to do it. Because you can connect it with tarot, and if you're completely new to her artwork, gain an understanding of keywords and her artwork, core meanings and her artwork married together. So let's see. Oh, no. Yeah, so I would really, and I'll do this one as the last one. As you can see, this brings up a lot of feelings looking at that. The blue is a beautiful color, and yet we see this man, he looks like a courtier, a knight perhaps, tangled up in her limbs. And she's clearly a jellyfish or something like that, and she's bringing him in. Is she bringing him in to offer him succor because he's fallen and is drowning? Is she bringing him in to consume him? Like, there's so many different layers there. And so you really want like a great journal devoted either specifically to this deck, or if it's the journal you take with you everywhere, with space allotted for you to like really dive into these images. And my favorite way to understand a deck is to journal with it. Draw a card every day, write down meanings that stuck out to me, how I felt about the guidebook meaning, what I as a reader felt drawn to, as a person felt drawn to, and then looking back at that over time, you can start to journal, to catalog how that grows and shifts as well. So I'm very happy to have the Ceccoli Oracle back so that I can read with it for myself and others. And I just felt drawn to talk a little bit about working with the deck over the years. And it has been quite a long time that I've been working with Ceccoli's decks. And I'm really, really glad that they're a part of my life. Let's see, is there anything else today? I did get a new book to do some work with, and specifically for me, also finding different language to use for clients and querents, for people who come to me more for healing work or mentoring work than just one reading, because I do find, as a Taurus with the Hierophant as my birth card, that having a variety of ways to explain something to someone is very helpful, because we all, each of us, learn differently, uniquely on our own. And so I did pick up Tune In, Let Your Intuition Guide You to Fulfillment and Flow by Sonia Choquette. And I don't know, I got something sticky on there, even though I just got this. And some of the exercises and questions in here I thought would be helpful working with clients. And also as a good refresher for me, those journal prompts are always really helpful to help you, spend time like getting into, those areas that we might tend to think, well, I've already done that. I've been on this path for a long time. Like, I don't need a refresher on that. But sometimes those questions can help us to take a look at something again, like we were saying with the Ceccoli Oracle, from a new perspective, from a new way. And this is definitely a beginner book, so if you are someone who's not needing a refresher or not wanting to look at the basics of an intuitive life, at this time, this probably won't be the book for you. But if you are kind of looking for a refresher, I do think it's a good read. I like Sonia Choquette. I don't, on the whole, I think she has definite value to the spiritual community. And so I got this, and I'm looking forward to reading that. And then I also did pick up Codependent No More, talking about codependencies and relationships by Melody Beatty. I am intrigued to give it a read and see what comes up with it. I don't know, I just felt kind of drawn to look at this. Especially, I have been finding for a lot of clients looking to explore, instead of how to be better for someone else, how to heal themselves, come back into alignment with themselves and their journey, especially in relationships where there's a level of toxicity. And that does not just mean romantic relationships. That can be with a family member, a friend, doesn't have to just be with a partner. So I'm looking forward to reading that too. And so that I kind of got those today, and wanted to just really talk about the Ceccoli Oracle and just how awesome Nicoletta Ceccoli's artwork is, and the value of working with the artwork in your deck. I really struggle as a reader with people who, I shouldn't say as a reader, perhaps more as a person. I struggle when people pick up a deck and say, well, I read intuitively, and they just read. They haven't spent time with their deck. They haven't done work to understand the symbols in their decks, or even just in a system of divination, so that they can understand how to approach their work. To me, I worry about integrity and loyalty when I'm coming up on someone who needs to pull out the guidebook in order to give me a reading, but also who hasn't even referenced the guidebook and they're going to use a deck. So as a reader, I feel a responsibility that if I'm sitting in front of you, I know my deck. I understand how the deck works with me, and I understand how the deck's going to work with your energy. Now, with every single querent, including myself, the deck will work a different way, but there's a general language and a flow that those pieces have together. So the piece of me as a reader with my intuitive ability, me with my deck, the deck with my client and I. And that type of marriage and union of all those things flowing together. The energy should be very fluid there. If I don't know a card meaning, or at least have put the information in my mind, I struggle with that as a reader. Like, what happens when you come up against that? And yes, it is about the intuition at the end, and I do understand that as well. But there's also an important part that is involved in putting the investment of time and energy in the physical realm into this work. You know, it brings with it a sense of groundedness and understanding that I think is really important. So Ceccoli, her decks, if you invest that time and energy into that relationship, you are going to get so much out of it. And I have rambled for 23 minutes basically to tell you that. So I hope you are all doing well wherever you are and whatever is going on. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And as always, much love and many blessings, guys. I will see you in the next video.